Hi, I'm Roxy Williams. You're tuned into another segment of our Woman to Woman show. I'm telling you, tonight is going to be a unique show, one you've never experienced before here at Woman to Woman. Get a pen, call a friend, because we have a brother tuned in today. I want to introduce to you the panel of guests that will be talking about dress codes of our young men and specifically to our African American men. Please welcome to the show Mr. Darrell, excuse me, sir. You can introduce yourself.
My name is Darrell Locket, Associate Minister at the Gospel Temple Missionary Baptist Church.
Well, welcome to the show. We are glad to have you.
Thank you.
And to my left, I have Jean Moore.
Hi, I'm Jean Moore. I'm a producer and writer-director.
And to her left, I have Cassandra.
I'm Cassandra Geist from the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs and Youth Affiliates, 115 years of lifting as we climb.
We know tonight's show is not going to be any topic that is new to you. We have come into a time of a hip-hop generation and a urban trend fad where the people dress like they want to dress and they have no apologies about any offense that they may cause to anybody else, or they have no apologies when it is considered the in thing. And so tonight, I hope that with the panel of guests, we will have a discussion and let you know from generation to generation how things are viewed when it comes to the dress codes of our black men. I want you, Jean, to start us out in this session. When you walk through the community, what do you see? How are you pleased with what you see?
I see a lot of draws. So no, I'm really not pleased.
I have cause to see a lot of draws.
You know? So I mean, that's what I see. I see a lot of draws, and I mean, I don't know if it's to the point that our males feel proud about their underclothes. I don't know if one is trying to see if the others was cleaner than the others. I don't know what it is, but it saddens me that our children are falling away from wanting to look good, dress well. You know, they think that the suit and tie is really not in, but it really says a lot about you. And when you're wearing your clothes and your pants is hanging down, you're barely able to walk. You can't run nowhere, so you better hope ain't nobody chasing you. So when it comes down to that, I've seen it. And it doesn't make sense that you spend 99.9% of your time pulling up your pants. So right. It bothers me.
Well, you know, what really interests me, and I've been an international motivational speaker to young women, and one thing I have said about them, and I'll say it tonight, before I take it back, I'll add more to it. How you dress is how you're going to be addressed. You know, when I see a person come up to my doorstep with a bag on his shoulder, maybe a blue top, blue bottom, and maybe some shiny black shoes, I know that's the mailman. You know, when I see a person with a holster and handcuffs, you know, maybe some pepper spray or something, in a uniform, I know that's the policeman. When I see our young black men with sagging pants, one thing that really amazes me is they have a belt in pants that sag beneath their buttocks. Second thing that really gets me is it's not just our young men anymore. I have seen grown men who know better adopt themselves to something that doesn't look aesthetically right, that is not, you know, any kind of attractiveness to a female. And if so, I need to check that female out. Because we have problems when men just look at us neck down and speak with us. You know, I have a problem when I can't stop looking at your behind because that's all that I see. And so in this era of hip hop, I thought maybe it was a fad that would soon go out.
No.
You know, it's kind of stayed a little too long. And I'm not going to go over it comes from prison and it means this or that, because evidently on the street, it doesn't mean a hill of beans to these young men to look beneath their privilege. You are kings. You know, you are kings in a society, and I've never seen a king be okay with dressing like that. You know, and I'm glad that you're on the panel and nicely dressed.
Thank you.
Because I can recognize you as a king and as a man in our society just in attire alone. You know, these are issues I want to hear from you. How do we resolve this issue with our black men that this isn't really okay?
I believe the message has to be sent out. You know, we have to talk to the people in our communities. You know, there's a fear also of addressing these young men. You know, Gene touched on it earlier about it being pretty much a part of the hip hop phase, you know, and when you watch these rap stars or hip hop artists, this is what you're seeing, you know, and, you know, we need to take on a mentality not to be followers of the wrong people.
Correct.
You know, try and take on a mentality of being a leader.
Absolutely.
First off, and once you learn how to follow, you then can lead. But if that following that you're doing is negative, because she touched on the fact of just seeing young men walking around and all you see is their underclothes and their underwear and so forth. I was watching Cops a couple months ago, and this gentleman, you know, had his pants hanging down, he had no belt on, he took off trying to run from the cops and his pants fell down and he hit the ground, the cops called him.
Stop playing.
You know, so, I mean, if you think of it realistically,
right.
You know, it is, you know, part of that hip hop phase.
Right.
But on the other hand, you know, I was brought up in a home where belts and stuff like that was even hard to come by. I mean, our parents, you know, we had it pretty hard growing up in the projects, Cabrini Green. And in doing so, there were even times when we were younger when Dad, you know, had left the home.
Absolutely.
You know, when Mom even took shoestrings together and tied them together and made belts for
Absolutely.
us. You know, to make sure our pants were up. You know, so, I mean, it's all in your upbringing, but I still feel like, you know, even to that level, you know, we have a choice. You know,
But where have we dropped the ball in this society? Like you said, you're a minister. I don't even see the preachers with their pants half bay. And underclothes are just that. They were named underwear because they are supposed to be worn under. Now, if I have to define under and wear, I'll do the same because I don't need to see that. I have a problem, and it's not just our men. I have a problem when I see them little thongs on them little low riders on women. I don't need to see your underwear because that's not sexy, it's not cute, it ain't diva. And if you're watching too much TV and think it's okay, you need to turn the TV off, get a book, read. You know, you need to find something else to do with your life that improves it rather than brings further degradation to who you are, to what you can be and what you can become. Because I know out of 40 years of working in a society, that is just not an acceptable attire to even get a job, to even get attention, to even get an ear in.
Yes, and I agree with that 100%. When you think of it, you know, there's a old slogan we used growing up, you are, you know, who you project to the public.
Correct.
You know, and in doing so, think of it, if you're used to wearing your pants that way every single day, you know, and you decide to go and get into the field of employment, you know, and seek employment.
Correct.
I mean, by practice, just natural instinct, you're going to go that way because that's what you're accustomed to doing.
Correct.
You know, so I figure if it's a habit that's not, you know, good for you, then you shouldn't, you know, nurture it. And it becomes a problem. Now, realistically, I know that if I were interviewing a gentleman, he came in with that attire, you know, with his pants hanging off him, I'd turn him away right away. Oh, you know, and it has nothing to do with stereotypical, you know, mindset.
No
it's just,
profiling.
Exactly.
No, you know, this is the reality that our young people are not facing. And I don't know what world they're living in, but it's not a us against them type of syndrome. It's a life and a death situation. Either you're going to live and live respected or you're going to die disrespected.
You know what? But one of the things that our young people fail to realize is that not only are you disrespecting self and those that you are around, you have to think about it. When you have to structure yourself, you have to get older. So that means that you are throwing your back out of, you know, the alignment is coming out. You're throwing your hips out. So when you get older and you don't position yourself being used to your body doing one particular thing, you're going to regret that when you get older. Because that body is going to form to the way that you're presented.
And I don't know if I'm going to go someplace that both of you all can go with me, but I don't know if that's the craftiness of the enemy, because we are making a major play here. And I say it this way. It used to be what you said. We dress to impress. Men dress to they didn't dress to impress men when I was coming up. They dressed to impress women.
Exactly.
And so when the connotation about, your low-riding pants is to a man. You see what I'm saying? Something.
But you said a man.
Right. Something has slipped.
Yeah, well,
you understand? And you have tripped. It has slipped, and you need to get those pants back over the hip. You know, it's just that simple. I think, you know, my son who is 18, and I'll just be matter of fact, I did a little, you know, every time I see him, I'll pull him. This is a fad that you're not going to be able to be in this house and have. And if I see you in the street, you're going to be the only one in that group that's going to get confronted. And I think that the parents really have ownership, because a lot of these kids don't buy their clothes. And a lot of these kids, like you say, don't have the money for the belts.
Exactly.
But if your mother is in that house, or your father is in that house, and you don't see him dressed like that, I think that that is a communication that starts at home.
Well, you have it where you have, I've seen the girls, women, with their pants
sagging,
below, you know, with
like
the belts
boys,
cuffing the hips, and then you have what's supposed to be the family, the mother, the father, and the child. Everybody's pants is below their waist. And again, even as it was stated earlier, that's not cute, and it's definitely not sexy, and it amazes me when you start talking about men and women.
Correct.
A real man is not going to want no woman who's showing all of what he would be considered his goodies. You pull he doesn't want to share all of that.
Absolutely.
That's not cute, sitting there watching Miss Butterfly or the eyeballs and all of this stuff that you done designed on your back. You are called a prey. So that means that he's looking, he's wanting to hit and miss. He want to hit you and then miss you. That's all that takes place. And no woman want no man whose clothes ain't on.
Go ahead, Cassandra. I'm sorry.
I was getting ready to say, I was listening to what you were saying, but there is another level to this, and I'm a very political-minded person. And people you buy your clothes. You go in the store, you try to buy clothes for your children, for yourself, and you will find some of the most obnoxious fashions available to you. When you are trying to buy, look for and find something traditional, or just say something business-like so that you can go seek a job, it is very difficult to find. And then if you find it, it's high-end, and it's out of your pocketbook reach. I find it sinister that when we go into our communities and we start trying to shop retail for our clothing,
absolutely,
what we find is this gangsta garbage.
You know, and that's
garbage.
I think in the generation I am, it's time for us to get a little gangsta, you know, and take back what we know works. Because we as parents, we are dealing with profiling. That is a great target. It ain't even profiling. You just set yourself up for trouble in that respect. The other thing that I want to really throw out to this panel to discuss, there was a state that did legislation. It has gotten so out of hand that legislators have put it into law that if they see you sagging, the police can pick you up and detain you.
Well, they're trying to do that. They're trying to do that here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they're going to consider it as a disorderly conduct. But it amazes me, and this is one of the things. Why is it that the guys are buying clothes too big and the girls are buying clothes too small? I'm not understanding. It sounds like
somebody, a humming. I'm a big girl, and I know, and I say this to all of you mature sizes out there, because they make them does not mean we can wear them.
Exactly.
And so that's how I feel about the code of brotherhood. Because it's made, you know, have some kind of chutzpah about you to say, I don't care which designer created that. I am man enough that I walk like a man. And so if it's not a Steve Harvey look, or if it's not a Bishop Trotter look, or a more respectable look, it's not for me. And that's where, when you talked about leadership and following, that we need to really focus in on the mentality, because this is conditioning, not just this generation, but when I see them having babies and their babies having earrings, and sooner or later we will see babies sagging too, because they can only teach what they know. Let me get it right. They can only teach what they know, and it's evidence that they don't know enough. They don't know enough about how hard it was for us to have a variety of clothing.
Well, I'd like for someone, anybody on the panel, to answer this. What happens when we have mothers and even fathers who say, I do what I want to do. And if this is the way I want to dress, if this is the way I want to be, then this is me. You don't buy my clothes. You don't do anything for me. This is me. I mean, what happens at that point? You know, how do we address that? Or is there a way to address that?
Well,
And there's a way to address it. Anytime, I'm an old-time counselor, anytime you want to correct something, you must confront it. And I think that that's what he's talking about. We live in states of fear, and this may be the overlapping problem, is that we're too fearful of our young people to put the rod of correction in place. I don't care if it's your son. If I have a relationship with you, your son becomes my son. And so if I see your son out there looking like I don't have my son looking, it's my position to do one or two things. One, confront him. And then let him know I'm going to correct this by going to your daddy and telling him I don't want to see this again, so he can tell you he doesn't want to see me again about this issue. And I think we're back at communities helping people. We are the helping hands, and we have to get out of these modes of fear, scared of our young people, scared to talk to them, scared to correct them, because I think that's the trick of the enemy. If we had them, that means we exercise an amount of authority over them. I don't need a police officer doing what I can do myself.
Well, you have the parents that are afraid of the children, so you know.
Well, you know, we are in a new
Children are running the
generation where the
households.
children are the parents' friends. Is that
Right.
it? And
Partying with
so,
'em.
you know, when it comes time for you to be a parent, the line of parenthood has faded or been disrespected so long that your mother or your auntie or someone outside of you has to then mentor. This is a time in life where we have to have so many mentors for a group of kids who live in houses where adults pay mortgages and house notes. You know, so we have shucked and jived away from taking the responsibility for our children. Today's that day, you know, and this is the hour, minister, that some of even the play preachers have got to step up to the plate and save our young people from a mark of destruction, because they're headed for destruction with this kind of attire. You know, what's the store called? Target. Now, you know, I say our kids are the target in the communities, and we now have to do everything we can to protect and provide for these children a different way of living so that they will be safe. We are the ones who have to make a safe way for our young people to be safe, secure, and successful.
You know, it's ironic that you bring that up too, because part of my daily life with my job, I deal with customers on a one-on-one basis in their home.
Right.
And I was at a customer's house today doing work, and in the event of that, I was listening to a gentleman. He had the music playing through his television, and he was playing hip-hop music, Jay-Z and Kanye West, this new King of the Throne or something they were playing. And, you know, I'm working in there, you know, me and my partner, and I'm listening to this music. And some of the profanity that was being used was totally just disruptive for anyone to even have to, you know, hear. And there it is, this little 8, 9-year-old girl is listening to, you know, this
And can
this
repeat
music.
every word.
Exactly, you know, and you know, some of the things are being said in these songs is, I mean, well, whatever you want to label them as, I don't call it songs, but you know, it's
They're hidden messages.
Yeah, it's not.
There's subliminal language.
It teaches our children the opposite of what we've been taught.
That's the
you know, and you
craftiness
talked
I'm
about,
talking
you know,
about.
earlier on one of your shows, you guys talked about, you know, all of us coming together raising one child. Well, I remember when I was born in Cabrini, when we were brought up, where if I said or did anything that I know I wouldn't say around my parents and the neighbor heard it, she then took control.
Absolutely.
And she disciplined me.
I had guidelines. I had boundaries.
Exactly.
I had things that I could, even in my worst mind, I could say, if my mother was standing here, would I do this? What would she think? If my grandmother, who put her whole life on the line to see that I was moved forward in society, what would she be thinking? I mean, you have young girls who aspire to a lifestyle that we would have never thought about.
But that's because the fear has been shifted. instead of children fearing us, we as you have said, began to fear the children.
Right.
When I sit back and I hear a mother talking to a 3, 4, 5-year-old child, and they say, well, he doesn't want that. What do you mean what he don't want?
Absolutely. But see, here we go,
He doesn't
Jean.
want to do that. What do you mean what he don't
Jean,
want
we
to do?
have gotten back to the equalization of our children. And as a psychologist, let me tell you why that has happened. Because when grandma has raised your child, he thinks he or she is your sister rather than your child. And when those matriarchs take over, they leave you silent. And so the children will respond to Nana, they will respond to Medea, they'll respond to her in a very respectful way. And when it comes to the birth mothers who have been silent, doing, like you say, what they want, how they want, whenever they want, the kids have then adopted grandma's attitude and lost respect. Respect is something that you earn. It's just not given because you birthed a child.
That's right.
And so now we have 2 generations going at war with each other. One trying to grab at respect and another one not even caring about the respect of themselves.
Well, you know what? It falls to a point where it says, well, I don't want to raise my child like my mom raised me. When we got a whooping, I don't want to whoop my child. Well, what did it do to you? Did it make you a better person or a stronger person? You know, but do you see it not making this child a stronger person? Well, you know, I want to give my child everything because I had nothing. The mentality is what is wrong. The way, the form of thinking is just completely out of whack. I was watching a show today, and I'm sitting here watching a woman who's an adult now. As a child, they gave her everything. She never had to earn anything. She never had to do anything. Everything was given to her. Now she become an adult. She's stealing. She's lying. She's doing all of that. But then yet and still, I hear the mother and the grandmother say, well, she just needs to go to prison. Well, she just needs, no, you all need to go to prison because you developed this.
Right.
You allowed this to become a part. You created that demon.
And Cassandra, can I say this about parenthood? Parenthood doesn't have a blueprint, and we fail sometimes. I want everybody to know every parent is not perfect.
Nope.
We have made some mistakes along the way. What I say is take ownership for your children, take ownership for your failures, because it's in that kind of responsibility that what I'm about to say about our young men becomes true. To be a man, he has to see a man. Men fail. He needs to see that failure, but he also needs to see a man that takes ownership for the failure. When you put on those pants and they sag, and trust me, they look horrible. Get to a brother and find out, how should I dress? What is the most respected position? And you know, you don't have to pimp yourself out either. You don't have to go all Don Juan, bling bling, trying to overextend yourself.
Well, look at the brother here. We wish to say, I mean, he looks good from his
Strike a
from his
pose.
shirt. Well, even from his hair, because your hair looks good too. So from the shirt all the way down to the shoes, he has jewelry on, which he has a watch, he has a chain, he has a bracelet.
But it's in
he
good
has
taste.
A ring, but it's not to the point where I'm blind over here. You see what I'm saying? It's not to the point where he's distasteful to me.
Correct.
He's the type of brother that you look at and you say, well, now that's
Absolutely.
tasteful for me.
Absolutely.
That's someone I would want to look at. That's someone I will go out with. That's someone I want to be by my side. Not to the point whereas if something happened, I'm tripping over the pants that you're wearing. That is right there. It becomes distasteful. And when you go back to what you were saying in regards to a man and a woman,
Absolutely.
a woman do not want a man who is not smelling good,
Right.
who's not looking good,
Absolutely.
who does not represent her well, and vice versa.
But Jean,
sad.
let's go here, because you're saying something that most people kind of get mixed up, and I won't clear this thing up once and for all. Women are not girls. Now, what girls will put up with, a woman will not. Okay? Men are not boys. What a boy will put up with, a man is not going to. And this then is the defining moment of our society. That is why men need to be with women and not girls. And women need to be with men and not boys. Let me clear something up as a mother who has raised an 18-year-old. I had to do this to my 70-year-old mother to say, my son is not being developed to take care of you or I. What we are developing is an outstanding husband for some little girl. That is why I'm going to have some say-so over who he gets for a wife. Not because I'm an overbearing mother, but because my entire investment has gone into his success. His failure is my failure, because he can be no greater than the thing that created him. You know, and that is what I want you young men who are looking at Darrell and understanding the point that this time is over for the nonsense of you do what you want, you know, you don't care what people think. Care what you think of yourself, because 9 out of 10 times what you're looking at in the mirror is really what we're seeing. We're seeing fear, we're seeing insecurity, we're seeing the things that are being portrayed in your attire. The confidence is not there. The intelligence is not there. And so when people are talking to you like you don't have any sense or that you don't have common knowledge, know that the initial impression they got was from your appearance. That's right. And so you've got to work on your appearance. Nothing wrong with it. I don't have problems with the new locks and all of that, but don't go trying to get a corporate job asking the corporate world to change for you. You got to understand you may have to change for the corporate world. That's if you really want it. And if you want nothing, keep doing what you're doing. Nothing is inevitable. But change is going to happen with or without you. That's right. That's why we will continue in this world, Cassandra, to have the haves and the have-nots.
I have one thing to say, especially when you're talking about parental fear of children. No. If you want to begin somewhere and take him back, your power as a parent, don't buy the clothes. Don't give them the money. They can't have it. It's
my personal applause.
Yeah. I remember
I say that about obesity and everything else. I don't blame those children. If sugar's in the house, eat all the sugar you can find. But when Michelle brings out big programs nationally, I think you need to lock the parents up, because the children aren't grocery shopping. I don't see many kids in Jewels. I don't see them in Dominex.
But everything has to be done in moderation. No matter what it is, you have to be in a position of knowing how to respect self. And when respecting self, you learn how to respect those that are around you. So when it comes, everything is to be done decent and in order and in moderation.
Well, while we're talking about respect, I've got to respect your time. And trust me, we have more conversation than we ever have time here at Woman to Woman. But you are welcome to tune in to another segment of Woman to Woman, a real discussion. If you'd like to reach us and tell us what you think about this dress code of our young men, you can do that at www.facebook.com/The Woman to Woman TV show. We'll be tuning in, trying to see what your thoughts are. But thank you, and thank all of my guests on the panel for being with us today. And we may have a part 2 to Woman to Woman and You. Have a good evening. He got enough trouble. No. I say he got enough trouble. He up there breaking up fights. Black folk up in the White House boxing. Did y'all hear that, y'all? Huh?
Excellent show. Excellent.
Oh, I can't get that.